This video's been a while coming. I've had this Yoga 6 for a few months now. I got it from Best Buy a while ago. And what's especially interesting about this Yoga is that it comes with a 4650U. And now that's like a Ryzen 4500U. That's their 6-core, 6-thread Ryzen 5 processor. But it has 12 threads, and it also is a Pro processor, which is intended for their business type oriented products. Now, this Yoga 6 is by no means a business laptop. This is like through and through consumer notebook. Due to limited availability of the AMD processors, I imagine that they had to opt for this Pro variant anyway. But yep, that's the CPU, this 6-core 12-thread processor, so has SMT, thank God. We also have 8 gigs of memory here, 3200 megahertz there. It comes with a 256 gig SSD, and it has Intel AX200 Wi-Fi, so pretty high quality Wi-Fi card in here. I'll have more info in the description on this product, including like product links and stuff, so be sure to check those out. Now, this top of the lid here, what makes this laptop unique is the denim here. I believe it's denim, but otherwise it's just kind of like a more rough, rugged fabric. Obviously, it looks a lot like denim. One thing to note about these fabric lids, they collect a lot of like dust and just stuff. So be prepared to clean these off without, like, they don't recommend you use any water or anything. You want to just kind of brush these clean because you can obviously damage the fabric, the glue they use, that kind of thing. Actually, I managed to pick up some sparkles on this fabric at one point. They seem to have come off by now. But that is one thing just definitely keep in mind. This laptop will get dirty fairly easily. And I've heard of people very, like, easily scuffing up the corners, ripping the fabric, so you're going to want to be really nice to this laptop. The rest of this laptop completely is plastic. There's no real metal to be found on the chassis except for like these little metal tags that say Lenovo on the sides and certain parts of the chassis. On the bottom here, we've got a big open vent. You can see the fan right there. No problem with the airflow. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws holding the laptop together. I'll have an internal shot on screen. This is not taken by me, but it's just as good as a shot taken by me, so just take a look at that real quick. You see we've got one pipe on the cooler with a small fan, all RAM soldered. We've got the 60 watt-hour battery and all that stuff inside. On the rear of the laptop, we've got these 2 vents. One of them is just for blowing out, and the other one is just like an intake, so mostly for show there. Looks nice, though. On the left side, we've got a charging-capable Type-C port, Type-A port, headphone jack. Then on the right side, we've got the power button, Type-A port, and a USB-C port. It's not the most rigid laptop. I mean, when it's closed, it's pretty dang sturdy just because of this glass layer here. But when you actually have it open, if I hold it from the bottom, like if you have this set on like the arm of your couch or something where it's just kind of sitting on the middle, or your leg, the whole chassis will flex upward, and you'll be able to see that in just like a gap, the difference in the size of the gap along the lid here. It's going to be hard to show on camera. Definitely noticeable. Something I'm a bit concerned about is the hinges mount around that area. So if the whole chassis can flex there, that could result in some fatigue, and the hinges could fail over time. I don't really have any data to suggest that on this chassis. I haven't heard of much in terms of hinge failure. But just normal thing to be wary about when you're looking at a plastic laptop. We'll touch back on the display here a little bit. So the display is an InfoVision M133 NWFD R0. This panel has been tested by Laptop Media, so I'll be using some of their data here. Based on their data set, this has a 94% sRGB screen, and in general is pretty good color range. One thing we need to note is that the screen is a little strange. Yeah, so if you look very closely at this mail icon here on the desktop, you can see that the colors are ever so slightly striped. It's very hard to see on camera, but the colors on the pixels, every other line is just slightly yellow, and I'm not sure exactly why that is. I did a little bit of looking, and I didn't see anyone else complaining about it. So maybe I'm just insanely picky. I have no idea. But that was something I noticed with the screen. It just looks a little weird in certain colors because of the striping. It does actually support styluses. This is the Lenovo Active Pen 2, I believe. and this works perfectly on it. So it's like a Wacom AES digitizer. So just look up like Wacom AES Stylus and you'll find something compatible. Last thing for the screen, we need to talk about response time. And the response times on the screen are quite poor. If you know what response times are, good. 30 millisecond rise, 28 millisecond fall. That's at 0 to 100% or 100% to 0%. So that's combined 58 milliseconds. If you don't know what that means, let me just explain this in a very obvious way. So if you're familiar with 60 hertz monitors or 120 hertz or 90 hertz, it's basically how smooth your screen is. And for a 60 hertz screen, which is what this one has, you want what I call clear, a clear FPS of 60 or better. And to achieve a clear FPS of 60, you would need around 16 millisecond combined response time. Now, a lot of laptops, they only get to about 40, so that would give you about 25 milliseconds response time combined. That's fine. But this one has 58, so that's more than double what you'd expect. And the clear FPS of this screen is about 18 CFPS. That's what I'll give it as a unit. And what that means is anything above 18 FPS is going to seem really smudgy, blurry, if not laggy. And the response times are actually bad enough on the system that it feels way sluggish, way more than it should, especially given the processor and the power limits in this thing, which we'll touch on later. And it's just a real shame. It lets the computer down. I mean, if you're used to kind of poor quality screens where everything's kind of smeary and you don't know what I'm talking about, you'll probably be okay. But if you're coming from something with it's one of the snappiest laptops you've ever used and you don't know what response times are, you're probably going to be let down here, unfortunately. But if you're coming from something where, you scroll a web page and the text gets all gray and whatever, then you'll probably be fine. Just something to keep in mind. Before we move on, I think we should just take a second to talk about Atlas. Basically, it's a service where if you're outside of the US or even within the US, I can purchase a laptop on your behalf and do testing for you through my company, Atlas Technology LLC. I'll have a link on screen here. You can check it out. Basically, I provide test reports, do all kinds of stress testing and all that to make sure the system is perfect working condition when it arrives. Because, if you're dropping, $1,200, $1,500 or more on a laptop and you're buying from overseas, it can be a bit stressful and you don't want to have to deal with warranty replacements, returns, all of that's just a big hassle. We'll be more than happy to take care of that for you. Make sure the machine arrives pristine, working, all that stuff. Be sure to check us out, atlaspc.org. This is my company. Full disclosure there. Any purchases through there support the channel and myself. And if you want to see more kinds of stuff like this review, that kind of thing, that's a great way to show your support in a way that benefits you more directly. Otherwise, just get subscribed if you're not already. Leave a like on the video. Leave a comment at the end if you have any questions. And yeah, let's continue with the video here. Okay, and let's talk about the keyboard a bit. So this is a backlit keyboard, fairly standard for IdeaPads. It's got 1.3 millimeters of travel. I measured that. The response can be kind of sluggish for some reason. That kind of contributes to how kind of slow the device can feel at times. I'm not sure why. It does result in weird typos where sometimes I'll let off shift and then type a letter and then it'll think I'm still holding shift. It's very strange. And yeah, that's the only real issue I noticed. Otherwise the backlighting's pretty good. You can see it in all lighting scenarios. I haven't tested it outside, but everything indoors is fine. And the glare doesn't make the legend unreadable like some laptops, so you're good there. Touchpad, fairly standard plastic touchpad. It probably could be a little bit bigger, but I'm fine with it as is. And I think this might have been the system that, like the laggy keyboard, I might have been having issues with lag on the touchpad. I can't recall if it was this laptop because I've had a few around for a while. It might have been. Just something to look for if you pick one of these up. If the touchpad's being laggy, I mentioned it. Let me know in the comments. I'll pin a comment and be like, yep, the laggy touchpad thing was about this computer. I've already sold this one, so I can't spend any more time testing it, unfortunately. But that was my experience. Fingerprint reader right here works fine. I mean, it's a laptop fingerprint reader. It's as good as it's going to be. And the camera works. It's got a little privacy thing. You see the red now. That's the little privacy thing on. Closes the webcam off. You can check other reviews for info on how good the camera is. I think Just Josh tests webcams. So now we're on the performance stage of things. So this laptop, I did some testing. Performance-wise, if you're on the max performance mode in Vantage and you're on AC power, you can get about 25 watts for 2 minutes. It'll hold that, and it'll peak around 92, 93 C. That was what I got in my room. And then it'll drop off to 15 watts for the rest of the time and stabilize around 70 C. And while it does that, the exterior temps are far from unpleasant, and I didn't really take issue with them at all. So it's, pretty quick for a 13-inch laptop, especially with a 6-core 12-thread processor in this size. I haven't run Cinebench on it, but I just thought I'd share my stress test results. I don't have the time to spend benchmarking this thing anymore, unfortunately. So what you see is what you get. Stress test is about all you really need to know for these chips anyway. Just know that this is going to be on the faster side of things in terms of benchmarks, but it will be slower than some systems, unlike Cinebench R23. In R20, it might be on the higher end, and R15, it's just going to dominate because R15 sucks, to be honest. But yeah, that's performance. And yeah, I mean, battery-wise, you can expect about 9 to 10 hours of YouTube playback. That's what I was getting in my testing. Your mileage will vary, of course. And just lighter loads, again, 9 to 10 hours. You might be able to get more than 11 in very light usage like word processing, but that really depends on what you're doing. But yeah, that's about all I had to say about the Yoga 6. It's a pretty decent 13-inch laptop all around. Just some small concerns about reliability and a little bit of just caveats on the screen and keyboard. But overall, I mean, I would probably recommend this system if you're looking for a pretty decent quality 13-inch laptop for around $600. That tends to be what they're going for nowadays anyway. If you found this video helpful, please leave a like, leave a comment if you have any questions, concerns, or if you just want to show your support. Make sure you're subscribed if you're not already for future reviews. Feel free to join the channel as a member or check out Patreon if you want to support me there. Otherwise, there's Amazon affiliate links in the description as usual if you want to buy any of the products I've shown on the video. Thanks again to the supporters of the channel for bearing with me while I had a little bit of a video desert there. But we're back into the groove of things here. I'm going to be making a few videos all in this one recording session, so should be pretty good. Hope this video is helpful, and I'll see you guys later.